When I think about plays that I've actually seen here that have meant a lot to me or read more recently, it's sort of plays that might not really be considered like what most people might think of as the Royal Court, sort of quite hard-hitting political things or really experimental formally. And it's actually some, like The River by Jez Butterworth or The Weir by Conor McPherson, sort of quite mysterious and poetic plays. Really subtle and strange. I don't think that's most people's perception of the Royal Court, but those are two plays that I've really taken away with me and really love and return to. I think because it keeps changing, and we've even, we feel this recently when Vicky Featherstone became the new artistic director. The building sort of changes. It's not just the plays that are going on, but the feel of it. And I think that's really important because I think theatre sort of looks to the past a lot, like in its very nature. Even a theatrical experience is sort of, it feels like you're looking into the past or experiencing the past in some way. So a theatre that's always looking into the future, I mean, by definition, it's seeking out new writing and it's going forward. And so it has to keep changing. And I think that's why it has remained important, because it hasn't ever sort of got stuck. And even if people might not sometimes like the plays that are on or what's happening, everyone sort of reacts quite strongly, I think, to what happens here. It's still important that it is changing and it is developing. And I feel it's still doing that, and that's quite exciting. I feel different in this building now compared to when I first came here. It does feel different, and that's very exciting and important. I have this really funny memory, which I think will stay with me for the rest of my life, which isn't necessarily related to working, but I was doing a group here with Simon Stevens that was sort of quite an intense week for me, not just because the group was very intense, but because, I was having intense times in life, so I was feeling kind of like that, And I went downstairs to buy some Robert Holman, and Simon, the bookshop man, recited his 7-minute performance poem about yoga to me in exchange for a 20% discount. And it was great. And so was the Robert Holman, and I don't think I'll ever forget that. Maybe in quite a broad sense, I've been trying to think about, would I be writing in the same way now if it hadn't been for the Royal Court? And I don't mean that so much in terms of doing the Young Writers Programme and, this is structure and this is dramatic form and blah, 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 because I read a lot and I studied literature, so those are things I'd always been aware of. But I think if I hadn't been coming to this theatre and talking to people from this theatre for the past, 5-6 years, I would probably write differently. I suppose because everything kind of affects how you write, really. But I think it must have affected the way I'm doing things, and will probably continue to affect the way I do things. So, yeah, look forward to that.